solamente una vez amé la vida, solamente una vez y nada más. Una vez nada más en mi huerto brilló la esperanza, la esperanza que alumbra el camino de mi soledad. Una vez nada más se entrega el alma con la dulce y total y cuando ese milagro realiza el prodigio de amarse, hay campanas de fiesta que cantan en el corazón. De amarse, hay campanas de fiesta que cantan en el corazón. Yeah, yeah.
When you were in school, what languages were used while you attended West Oaks Elementary?
It was mainly English.
When you were in West Oaks Elementary, is there a time in which you felt different for speaking a different language?
Yes, I did, because sometimes when I would be talking to them in Spanish, when they would be talking to me in English, some words I did not understand.
Okay. How did that make you feel?
It really made me feel like, uncomfortable, because I didn't know what to do. In one of my classes that I was in, which was our migrant class, they spoke both. But since a lot of ours that did not speak English, they would talk to us in Spanish and explain to us what they were going to talk to us in English.
Oh, okay. So they would use both languages
Both,
with you.
yes.
Okay. How did you feel in this program?
At first, I felt comfortable because we had other students that were the same way as me. So it was like, I was able to understand. I was able to speak to them in Spanish, since all that were in that class didn't know very much English.
Okay. Were you allowed to speak Spanish in that classroom?
The majority of the time, we had to try to speak English. So we could, and then that was the reason why we were there, is for us to learn the language.
Okay. Were you able to speak Spanish in your main classroom?
At first, yes, because we didn't know how to speak English. But then once we moved on to other grades, yes, they were more strict with us.
Okay. Were your teachers in your main classroom ever really tough, or did they have any kind of rules against speaking Spanish? Or
They would tell us, that we would have to, like I say, we would have to try to speak the English language. They understood that we didn't know very much, but we would have to try not to speak the Spanish as much as we used to, because of the reason was, we just had to learn that English was our priority one.
how did you feel around your teachers that spoke mostly English to you?
It really made me feel kind of nervous because I didn't know what they were saying.
Now in middle school and in high school, were you enrolled in that same migrant program?
I was in middle school, but at that age we were already knew pretty much the English language. Which when we got into high school, I was not in it because that's when I got myself into co-op classes where English was our main language in there, where I understood it more than I used to before when I was in elementary.
Overall, do you feel this program helped you, this migrant program?
Yes, it did. It did because we were able, the teachers that we had there spoke both English and Spanish. Then going into a class where it was all English, and to me, that helped a lot on the students be able to learn the English knowing what they were talking about. Yes, I still knew more Spanish than I did English, but I felt more comfortable trying to speak English than my Spanish, because the majority of my friends then did not know how to speak Spanish, so I didn't have no choice than to speak the English language. Well, to me, they were very respectful during that time, during my time. They would look at us, and they sometimes would say, "Wow, I wish I could speak Spanish too," because the majority of the people spoke English. So whenever they would see us, they would be impressed, and they respected our language.
Name a tradition that you enjoyed as a child.
Our main tradition that I enjoyed as a child was during Christmas, when we would celebrate baby Jesus. This tradition came from my dad's grandmother. So what we would do, we would pray in Spanish, and I felt like that would help me. That was helping me more, especially keeping up with my Spanish language, So that was one of our biggest, we would pray in Spanish, we would sing and have the piñata, So this was one of our main ones because we still continue with that tradition right now. even with my children.
Is there another tradition or things that you enjoyed when you were young?
Well, yes, we would go. My parents loved to go dancing, go to Spanish dances, to Mexican dances, and of course, there, they would sing, a lot of Mexican music. So, still when I was there, I would be able to understand and continue my Spanish.
Which language do you feel most proficient in?
English, because English is the one that I mainly use now. Talk to I'm around people that speak English more than I do with Spanish. They're at work. Like whenever I have to translate, we got a lot of Hispanic people that speak Spanish. So when we're having our meetings, I'm usually the one that have to translate to them in Spanish. But the majority of the time, we speak English when they're at work.
What helped you maintain your Spanish language?
Mainly it would be my family, because I wanted my kids to learn how to speak Spanish, because the majority of my family speaks Spanish.